Hi, Jen.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us. Great to see you.
thank you for having me.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from Severn, Maryland.
Awesome. Great. So we're excited to have you here on our podcast and to really share with our audience, more about Gen Vets. I know is really new in what I know you're going to take the veteran community by the storm. I am so sure of it. Um, can you just start by telling us a little bit about you, what got you to this point of wanting to form Gen Vets?
Sure. So Gen Vets is new. I am not new. I have actually been practicing veterans law since 2002. I started as a pro bono attorney with the Veterans Pro Bono Consortium. And right after 9/11, my law firm had given us a lot of opportunity to do work giving back to the community, and that's what I chose. And I was assigned an amazing mentor, Linda Blauhut with Paralyzed Veterans of America, and she has stayed with me for all 20 plus years. Even now, I still go to her. And after about another 4 years with the law firm, I decided to go full time, with the Veterans Administration, and I work for the Board of Veterans Appeals. And I did that for about 4 years, and then moved on and did some contract work with Paralyzed Veterans of America after that, and then went full time in 2016 and joined their Office of General Counsel and stayed there. I ran the National Appeals Office there. I did a lot of training for the service officers there, which I loved doing. Their national service officers are the best. I have to give a shout
Yes.
to all of
Yes,
their
they are. I know
work
a former
artists.
officer there, Mr. Sherman Gillum's
Yes,
amazing. The work that PVA does for our community is just amazing.
they taught me more than I did for them, and that's what I always would say to them. But I'm
Yeah.
still in touch with a lot of them, and continue to go to them when I have questions as well. But after that, then I did some work for a private law firm, and I do a lot of work in the community as well. Lots of different local resource community things that I've done. And then I decided in June to start Gen Vets because the primary thing that I realized I was hearing over the course of the entire 20 years that I have been working with veterans, and this is without fail, is unfortunately, Jen, don't worry. I know it's not you, it's not what you're doing, it's not Paralyzed Veterans of America, it's not whatever organization I'm volunteering for. They're waiting for me to die.
Mm.
And that's heartbreaking because
Yeah.
they're not waiting. VA is not waiting for them to die. There are backlogs. There are a ton of things that are preventing claims from being decided faster and things from going, but no one is waiting for a veteran to die. I assure all of my clients. But when you are that person and you haven't either heard from another human being, or you're receiving letters or emails or automated phone calls, that is sure what it feels like. And I get
Yes.
it. I completely get it. But it takes a human, it takes me calling and talking to them and explaining that in my own way. And we have our ways of talking and
Yeah.
sort of making light of it in the way that you can, and me actually explaining what is going on, because I do understand what's going on, and I can give them context and explain where their claim is, where it is in the processing of it, and why things may be happening the way it is. So when I hear that kind of sentiment from veterans, from my clients, whether they're people out in the community, I start to think over the years, what is happening here? Because on the other hand, I have so many friends that I have made over the course of these years, whether they're judges, they're people within VA, there are other attorneys who are working just as hard as I am to make sure that there are benefits, that there are programs, that there are resources that are out there that are unparalleled to what we had even 10 years ago. There's been the Mission Act, there's been the PACT Act, there is care now that's available to more veterans today than ever before. And the technology, the prosthetics, things that VA has produced, it is one of the best agencies, if not the best agency we have. But what do our veterans think? VA sucks. And that's pretty hard to swallow when you are working at VA and you're spending long nights and long weekends, and you know that that's actually not what is happening. So I decided that I think what needs to happen is change the narrative. Try and provide a gap where the communication isn't being brought to the community the way that it needs to be. And because I've spent all of this time over the course of the last 20 years understanding from a VA perspective, from a national service organization perspective, from a nonprofit perspective, from a volunteer perspective, even from a law firm perspective, I think I have the experience to be able to explain what is going on, what resources are available, and if I don't know the answer, I know who to turn to get those answers.
Yeah, and that's important, right? With the work that I've seen and what I currently do with my nonprofit, it's we become that beacon of hope, right, for the veterans who think that somebody is just waiting for them to die, so they're no longer a file on their desk. They're no longer that number, right? Because we do feel that sometimes that we're just a number. We are told that when we're in the military, oh, you're just a number, don't worry, they'll get somebody else, right? But when there's a human on the other side of the phone or in front of you, right, that kind of talks about it in a way that, okay, it makes it real, people are actually working on my case, there's just a lot of challenges like everything, right? It makes us feel hard. And I think that that's what you're given and that's what you've learned.
Well, so, and the other important thing to understand is that this is a process. VA isn't an agency that is built to, and I hesitate to use the word, I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but to coddle everybody that calls. And I think there is the perception that when you call, you are going to get someone who is going to answer and be able to talk to you and give you all of the advice and listen about all of your different issues. And that, even probably me 10 years ago, like whether it was when I left the board and I was first working and taking clients, I would think, well, that's not fair. They should have told you this and they should have told you. No. This is not how it works. So what happens is you have all these different divisions within the agency. It is the most regulated agency in our government. So they have all of these different rules that they have to follow. And or all hell will break loose. Okay. And so that's one thing. And if someone isn't complaining here, they're going to complain here, they're going to complain here. And I assure you, it's going to be veterans on this side, veterans on this side, veterans on this side. So you have all of these different call centers. There are HIPAA concerns. There are privacy concerns. One arm can't talk to the other arm without checking with this arm and that arm. When you call a call center and you are asking about your VA claim, someone isn't going to be able to know about your medical records that came in over here and whether this happened over here. And they're not going to be able to tell you about something that's going on this side of VA. The system isn't set up that way. There are a lot of people who think it should all be centralized or it should go to the states. It should be. No, that is also not. It's easy to think in this perfect world that it would go that way. But this system is actually, it's not a bad one. What we need is someone who is able to talk to our veterans, our clients, and explain, okay, who told you what? And first of all, the first thing we need to do is talk and listen. I want to hear what your story is. So Dee, you come to me and you say, Jen, I got out of service, or I'm just getting out of service, or I want to get out of service, and these are my issues. And I listen. Or my family, I have my husband, I have 2 kids, and I spend 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I hear what you have to say. I would get in a lot of trouble. And Linda Blauhood might I'm going to tell Jen, we have a backlog of how many cases, maybe. And I would always say, but I write really good briefs and really great IHBs. And they were always long, probably a little too long too, because I spend so much time getting to know everybody. And I love my clients, and that's what I do. But that's what makes that relationship, is what also makes me a good advocate. And it's also why I thought, maybe I'll just start my own organization. I'll get to know everybody, and this will be the solution. And I actually think that's what we're doing here. So I get to know you, Dee, and I get to understand what it is that you need. Okay, you have a claim for service connection. You have disability benefits, but you have 2 children. You've been on multiple deployments. While you were gone, they were having issues in school. They weren't dealing with the fact that you were gone 4 times. Your husband got hurt, or maybe he was having some depression issues on his own. Maybe there's some care that we need to have there. Maybe he was out of a job. Maybe we need to work on some sort of employment issue for him. There are a lot of different things that I'm writing down, that I'm jotting down. But somebody, when you called for your GI benefits, your education benefits, gave you information that doesn't match because there was a change in the law, and you're sure you're entitled to something, and you're telling me you've been screwed. Somebody told you this, and now you are losing out on that. And you're telling me, you know, because the VA call center told you this. So it's my job now to say, okay, we've talked for 20 minutes. I have no problem telling you. I don't have to worry about HIPAA. I don't have to worry about privacy. And at this point, Dee, I hate to tell you, and I'm going to confirm it, but they didn't give you the right information, and you're not entitled to this, and you're not entitled to that. But let me tell you how it works. This is the evidence that you need in order to get that. And I'm happy to tell you how to get it. And we can work on that together, in terms of me telling you where you need, what kind of thing you need, what the letter is going to need to say from your physician, where you need to send it. That's no problem. But you're not entitled to that other thing. And please don't waste the time of the agency or take away the resources from your other soldiers, your other veterans, by filing a claim that is not going to get granted. You don't have to do that. That's one. As for the education benefit, you got bad info. And that happens. That's another problem with the system right now, is that we have people who aren't necessarily trained the best way. There's so many new people at the bottom level. So a lot of the tension that is happening right now is directed all the way up here at the VA. We're very angry at the board. We're very angry at the judges. We're very angry at all, because it's taking too long. It's taking too long. Well, guess what? We have 2,000 people down at the regional office who have just been hired. I think I heard a statistic of 60% of the regional office are new within the last 2 years. And that is not I'm not vouching for that. I think that's what I heard. But it's a crazy number like that. So if all of those people are new and putting out these claims and decisions like that, we really need to think about, okay, is the training as good as it could be? Are we putting enough into that kind of, because if those claims aren't decided accurately, guess what? You're going to come to me and Paralyzed Veterans of America, and we're going to go, no. Even if we don't want to, we got to appeal. And even with the Appeals Management Act and all of the things that are good, that are supposed to get things going faster, we're still going to appeal. You still have to get it right. And even the judges and the board, everybody wants that.
And I can tell from what you've shared, right, when your vision of putting the human perspective right behind the phone call, having that conversation, that one-on-one, and actually telling them, no, you don't qualify for that, but let's take a look at this, right? It doesn't become I showed up, I asked a question, and you shut the door on me, right? You told me no and didn't give me any other option. And I think that that's where maybe you differentiate yourself. Jen Betts does from other VSOs, right? That I think that I have experience with some of the BSOs and some organizations, right, that they are so centered on, hey, this is in my wheelhouse, and this is the only thing that's in my wheelhouse, and I'm not going to look either way, even though on the sidelines there's all these other organizations that are the experts at every other thing, right? But because they didn't come to you with what's on your wheelhouse, you shut the door. And like that's where veterans become disappointed and we become frustrated, and they're like, you're going to send me to other organization that they're going to tell me no. And I've been told no all the time, right? And I love that you are not afraid to ask others if you don't know the answer, right? Because I think that's what we should do. There's an overload of information, there's an overload of resources,
but it's
so
great
many resources.
all these resources. It's a great, VA has all of these benefits. They have the resources, they have all of these things. No one knows about it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It is going unknown. And if you don't know, you don't know. And the problem is not enough know. And it kills me because I know how hard people are working, and I hate that just as much as these people are working passionately, there are these people, the veterans, who think they don't care.
Nobody cares. Yeah, they don't care.
And they are not willing to hear otherwise. And I want to spend the time making them understand. And you know what? I want them to come at me and challenge me and say, explain this to me, Jen. Explain why this is happening, because I'll find out the answer and I'll go back and I will talk on the other side. The most impressive thing to me is that when I launched this in Indianapolis, it was in front of the National Association for State Directors of Veterans Affairs. All of the state directors of Veterans Affairs were there. So many people from VA. And they all spent so much time talking to me. People who could have walked by. I'm thinking of one in particular who came back, and he would talk to me. And I would have thought by now he had enough of me. He was high up in VA. And then he brought other people over and said, you need to talk to Jen. And I had my associate, Crystal Romero, with me, who was also talking and getting the word out. You need to talk to these two because we're going to be working with them. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, if he says we're working with you, we're going to be working with you. That's the reception we received. And that's amazing. Opposite of engagement, we are going to bring our veterans to you. This isn't an agency who's hiding from the truth and from what I'm going to be bringing to you all. This is an agency who's saying, thank you. Okay, we have so much to offer. We're not getting it out there all the time. Yeah. And they're trying. But when you have the closed off already sort of feeling, and I don't blame them for being closed off. If you're waiting for a decision for 8 years on your benefits, then you're going to be pissed off about everything else. Yeah. And why would you trust and I'm representing a couple clients right now who honestly, at the end of the day, if they don't end up with what they're entitled to, I will cry just as hard as they do, because I don't see how it can't go their way. But when you're dealing with these individual circumstances and these individual people, that's what it is. They're individuals. Every single veteran is an individual. They're not a statistic. They're not a case number. They're people who have individual stories. And we need to hear them. We need to listen to them, because how can we tell them that we have the answer to their problems if we don't know what they're asking? If we don't know what their questions are? Yeah, and size fits all. And that's sort of the problem that I see. It's a perception problem.
Yeah. And like you said,
that perception. We need to make it so that they don't perceive the issue to be that everybody's anti-helping, that they're only focused on themselves and who's arguing. I've likened this a lot to sort of in my mind before I even did this. Before when I was at Paralyzed Veterans of America, I would listen and I would be at these tables and these meetings. Everybody with the stakeholders, they call them, the chairman does a very good job of bringing everybody in to update the VSOs and stakeholders on what's going on in the board, what the statistics are, how many claims are backlogged, how many claims have been decided, how many hearings have been held, so that we know what's going on. We know what to focus on, what's important, what's not. So I would be there and I'd be listening, and I imagine this big table, even though we're all on Zoom these days, I still imagine this table with people. And then I know when there are questions being asked, you can sort of hear saltiness, every now and again. And there are other kinds of meetings. And I swear I imagine sand being thrown, like little kids in
Yeah.
a box. And so what I say about this is we have to stop with the sandbox, stop with the sand throwing. We have to have forward thinking, not looking back at who's responsible for
Yeah.
what we got and why we're here. It's about where we're going. And the mantra of our organization is always forward. We don't look back. It's always forward. And that's what you'll see with us.
Yeah. And so that was going to be my next question, right? Like, what are the long-term goals for GenVets? Where do you envision the company and impacting the veteran community within the next 5 years? I know you already have like over 20 years of experience in this field with organizations, with the VA, and doing the work that you're doing. And I can sense you are so passionate about this and so passionate and really care about listening to that person, to what happened to them. And that is often what is missed and what we don't have. Yes, not everybody has the time to sit there and listen to my story, right? But sometimes that's all I needed. I haven't heard anything from anybody in 8 years. And while we know over here that within those 8 years, there were multiple personnel changes, multiple people came and gone, and people learn about your thing or not. Did they get trained? But I don't know that. All I know is that my problem has not been solved for 8 years. And I can sense that GenVets is going to be that listening ear that will not only be honest with them and tell them, sorry, you received the wrong information, but let's try this. Let me talk to you about this. How do you see the GenVets impact in the community?
Well, I think for all the things that you just said about how you can't see what's behind the scenes over the course of these years, I wouldn't answer that question, because in order to answer that, I'm jumping beyond the problem of today that's so important, and the only thing that's important, which is changing the narrative today. And until we change that, until we start to hammer away at that, and honestly, I don't think it's the best prognosis I can give about all of this is, if given the right tools, if given the right resources and the right partnerships with people, I think that this is something that is completely doable. It's just we haven't, I don't know if, I'm not going to say I'm the only one who's had the idea. I can't imagine that's true. I'm not that smart. But I can't believe that we can't get this done together. There are too many people who want to help.
Yeah, and
I love and who are supporting me that would want to join me in doing this, and it's too simple of an idea. So not looking beyond the next year and just getting this started and getting this word out and finding the tools to do it, whether it's continued podcasts, talking, writing. I'm originally a journalist, and I love that this is coming out this way first. I will be communicating, and using all of the tools, the writing tools I have. People love to tell me I write too much, I talk too much. Well, guess what? You're going to hear so much more.
Now officially. And I do want to ask, like, how can organizations like join and partner with GenVets now, right? And like you said, so that we can all together accomplish this, because I also believe it's doable. We just have to figure out how can we get the word out about all of these resources that are already there. They're being funded, they're available. We just need to let people know they're here. Like, come and I will help you get there.
Okay, so first and foremost, I am never going to turn down a donation to help fund. We desperately need funding. So please, if if you know of that, if your organization can help with that, you know, go to our website and there's a donate now button. Please feel free to do that. That's the best way you can help. But also, Dee, you and I spoke about your organization prior to. I didn't know about that. I look forward to learning more. We've already made plans to do that. And that's, you can call me, you can email me, and there are lots of partners that I have that we will learn together. And that's how this works. I learn about your organization. That makes me more educated so that when I have veterans who call with issues that then relate to your organization, I get to say, I know exactly who to refer you to. And that's what it's about. I don't need to have all the answers. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's about me knowing who to send you there that's already in existence. It's not about spending more money. It's about being smarter with what's already out there. Veterans nonprofits is big business right now. And I'm not all for that. I think we all need to be very, very careful about who we're supporting, where we're spending our money, where we're donating to, like really careful. And I can't emphasize that enough. So when we're supporting each other and we are, you know, as you say, how do you get involved? We need to be smart consumers about veterans too.
I love that. Smart consumers of veteran services. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? I don't need to have all the answers. I don't need to have all the solutions. I have a partner who is the expert at this. Why not reach out and send you to the expert? Why am I going to try to have a do this? Thank you, Jen, so much.